The story begins in the year 1950, inside a car factory where several cars were being built. But among all of them, one red car was very special. A mechanic was working on it. While checking the engine, suddenly the hood of the car slammed shut on its own with great force, crushing the mechanic's hand badly. He was immediately taken to the doctor for treatment. Later, another mechanic came to inspect the same car. While working inside, the ash from his cigar accidentally fell onto the seat. Instead of cleaning it, he ignored his mistake and continued working, not realizing that this small carelessness was about to lead to something terrible. Hours passed, and by evening everyone finished their work and left for home. As the supervisor was leaving, he noticed that the headlights of the red car were still on. Curious, he walked closer and opened the car door. And the moment he did, the dead body of the cigar-smoking mechanic fell out. That shocking incident happened 28 years ago. Now the story jumps to 1978, where we meet a student named Dennis, who is driving his car to pick up his friend Arnie. Arnie was a quiet, nerdy boy, the complete opposite of Dennis, yet the two were good friends. It was their first day of school. At school, they both went to their lockers and took out their new books. Just then, a new girl named Leigh entered the school, and her beauty caught everyone's attention. Dennis was instantly smitten by her. Later, while Dennis and Arnie were driving home, Arnie suddenly noticed a red car parked outside an old house. He immediately asked Dennis to stop the car. When they got closer, they saw that it was an old, rusted, broken-down car. But still, Arnie instantly fell in love with it. That car was the same one from the beginning of the story, the factory car. Now, though, it was in terrible condition. Still, Arnie didn't care. He couldn't take his eyes off it. Just then, the car's owner, George, came out of the house. He told them the car's name was Christine, and it used to belong to his brother, who had died just a few weeks ago. George wanted to get rid of the car as soon as possible, so he agreed to sell it for only $250. Dennis tried to stop Arnie and said, "Why waste your money on this piece of junk? Buy a better car. Fixing this one will cost you a fortune." But Arnie didn't listen. Without thinking twice, he bought the car right there. That evening, when Arnie got home, his parents asked him about the car. His mother got really angry when she found out. She scolded him and told him to return it immediately, but Arnie refused. He said he had used his own savings to buy it. His mother, being very strict, said, "This car will not stay in this house." So Arnie decided to take the car to a garage. Dennis went along with him. When they reached the garage, they met the owner, a grumpy old man who didn't want Arnie's car in his place at all. But Arnie, being polite and respectful, kept requesting him again and again, saying, "Please, sir, just let me park my car here." After that, the garage owner finally agreed and allowed Arnie to keep his car there. On their way back, Dennis asked Arnie why he bought such an old, broken-down car like Christine. Arnie simply smiled and said, "I didn't choose this car. This car chose me." The next day at school, Dennis was waiting for Arnie during lunch. When Arnie didn't show up for a long time, Dennis went looking for him. That's when he saw a bully named Buddy harassing Arnie. Buddy had stolen Arnie's lunchbox and was threatening him with a knife. Dennis tried to step in to help, but Buddy threw Arnie's lunch on the ground and pushed him down onto it. Arnie's glasses fell off, and Buddy stepped on them, crushing them completely. Then Buddy and his friends laughed at Arnie. Dennis couldn't control himself anymore. He took the chance and attacked Buddy. Buddy's gang quickly surrounded Dennis, but just then a teacher arrived and stopped the fight. Arnie told the teacher that Buddy had threatened him with a knife, though Buddy denied it. The teacher asked him to empty his pockets, and as Buddy did, the knife fell out. Buddy and his gang were immediately sent to the office, and later Buddy was expelled from school. Weeks passed, and Arnie spent all his time working hard to fix his car, Christine. One day, the garage owner noticed his dedication and offered him a job. He said, "You can work here, and in return, you can collect some spare parts for your car." Arnie happily agreed and kept working day and night, but he didn't realize that while repairing Christine, he was slowly getting deeply attached to the car, maybe even obsessed with it. The next day at school, Dennis and his friends were talking about the new girl, Leigh. They dared Dennis to go and talk to her in the library. Dennis accepted the challenge and walked over to her. But before he could even start a conversation, Leigh told him that she already had a boyfriend. Dennis felt embarrassed and quietly left, disappointed in front of his friends. Later that evening, Dennis decided to visit Arnie since they hadn't met for a long time. But when he saw him, he was shocked. Arnie had completely changed. He wasn't wearing glasses anymore, he had stylish clothes, and he looked more confident, almost like a different person. He didn't even stay to talk much with Dennis and went straight back to work in the garage. Arnie's mother tried to stop him, but he ignored her and left. Worried, Arnie's mother told Dennis that she was really scared for her son and his new car. She had recently found out that the previous owner of Christine had died inside that same car, suffocating to death. Hearing this, Dennis got very concerned and decided to meet George, the car's former owner. George told Dennis the whole story of his brother. He said that when his brother bought Christine, he became completely obsessed with it. Eventually, his wife and daughter died inside that same car. Then later, his brother also died, right inside Christine. And strangely, after his brother's death, the car somehow drove itself back to George's house and parked outside on its own. Hearing this, Dennis was terrified. He decided that he needed to go to the garage himself and take a closer look at that car, Christine. After that, Dennis quietly sneaked into the garage at night. He tried to open the car's door, but as soon as he pulled the handle, the radio suddenly turned on by itself. Dennis got scared and immediately ran away before anyone could see him. The next morning, Dennis went to the school stadium to play football. He was thinking about scoring a special goal when he suddenly saw Arnie arriving, and his car, Christine, was shining bright and completely restored. Seeing this, Buddy and his gang started feeling jealous. Then Leigh stepped out of the car and kissed Arnie right in front of everyone. Dennis didn't like this at all, because deep down, he loved Leigh. He got angry and lost focus on the game. Taking advantage of the moment, a player from the other team pushed Dennis hard, and he fell straight to the ground. The fall was so bad that he immediately passed out and got seriously injured. A few days later, Dennis opened his eyes and found himself in a hospital bed. His leg and neck were both in a cast. Arnie came to visit him. That's when Dennis realized how much his friend had changed. Just a month ago, Arnie was a shy, quiet boy who could barely talk to anyone, but now he seemed like a completely different person. Arnie didn't stay for long. He just said goodbye and left quickly. That same evening, he went out with Leigh to watch a movie. Later, the two of them sat in the car and started kissing, but when things began to get a little more serious, Leigh suddenly pulled away and got out of the car. Arnie followed her, confused, and asked what happened. Leigh said angrily, "You love this car more than you love me." Arnie didn't understand what she meant. Just then, it started raining heavily, so he somehow convinced her to come back inside the car. But suddenly, the windshield wipers stopped working. Arnie got out to fix them while Leigh stayed alone inside. As she sat there eating something, the car radio suddenly turned on by itself. The dashboard started glowing with a bright light, and Leigh began to choke. She couldn't breathe. Arnie rushed to help, but the doors had locked from the inside. Leigh was suffocating, and just when it seemed like she was about to die, she somehow managed to unlock the door. A man nearby saw what was happening and ran to pull her out. Instead of thanking him, Arnie got angry. He thought that man was trying to flirt with Leigh, but the man was only helping her. He was removing the piece of food stuck in her throat. After all this chaos, Arnie drove Leigh back home. As soon as they reached, she rushed inside without saying another word. Arnie tried to apologize, but Leigh refused to talk. She was convinced that the car had tried to kill her. She also believed that Christine was jealous of her, because every time she and Arnie were together inside the car, something bad always happened. Arnie didn't believe any of it. He thought it was all in her head, so he told her they'd talk tomorrow and went back to his car. But when he tried to start it, Christine didn't respond, like she was angry too. Arnie sighed, gently touched the steering wheel, and said softly, "It doesn't matter what happened with Leigh today, because my love will always be for you, Christine." After that, he turned the key and the car started right away. Then he drove straight to the garage, left Christine there, and went back home. But right after he left, Buddy and his friends broke into the garage. They were carrying all kinds of weapons, and in no time, they completely destroyed the car. The next day, Arnie somehow convinced Leigh to come with him to the garage so he could get his wallet from the car. But as soon as Arnie saw Christine, he was shocked. The car was completely smashed and ruined. Seeing this broke Arnie's heart. He immediately thought Leigh was the one who did it. Leigh was confused and asked who could have done such a thing, but Arnie started yelling at her without listening. He told her to just go away. Later, Arnie told his parents everything that happened. They tried to calm him down and said they would buy him a new car, but that made Arnie even angrier. He knew that just like Leigh, his parents also hated Christine. He blamed them for what happened to her, because if they had let him keep the car at home, it would have been safe. He got furious, shouted at his parents, and went toward his room. His father grabbed him and told him to apologize to his mother, but Arnie kept shouting, so his father slapped him. In anger, Arnie grabbed his father by the throat and almost killed him, but then he suddenly stopped, let go, and walked out of the house without saying a word. He went straight to the garage, determined to fix Christine again, but when he got there, what he saw made his heart stop. The car was repairing itself, as if by magic. Arnie smiled in disbelief and asked Christine what else she could do. In that moment, the car completely repaired itself automatically, without any help. Later that night, one of Buddy's friends, Moochie, was seen stopping a truck in the middle of the road to rob it. Suddenly, he heard the sound of an engine approaching. When he looked closely, he saw it was Christine, fully repaired and shining like new. Moochie realized Arnie must have found out that he and Buddy were the ones who wrecked the car. He started begging for forgiveness. But then Christine's headlights turned on, glowing brightly, and the car began racing straight toward him. Moochie ran for his life and hid in a nearby alley, thinking he had escaped. But soon, Christine followed him into the alley. Moochie ran into an old warehouse hoping to lose her, but she didn't stop. Finally, he got trapped in a corner with no way out. Christine slowly cornered him. Moochie pulled out a knife and shouted for Arnie to stop, but Christine didn't stop. She forced her way in and brutally crushed Moochie to death. The next morning, Arnie met Dennis and told him about Moochie's death. Dennis was shocked. He couldn't understand how Christine, which had been completely destroyed, could repair itself. Arnie didn't answer his questions. He just turned around and quietly walked away. When Arnie was about to leave, Detective Junkins came to meet him. The detective assured him that he was already looking for the gang who attacked Christine and that he was also handling Moochie's murder case. Arnie said he didn't know anything about Moochie's death, but he admitted that the news made him very happy. Hearing this, the detective began to suspect Arnie. He then told Arnie that his girlfriend Leigh had testified that the car somehow repaired itself even after being completely destroyed. Arnie immediately denied it, said it was all a lie, and walked away. Later, Arnie called Leigh and asked her to meet him, but she refused. This made Arnie even angrier. Meanwhile, Buddy and his friends were out buying alcohol. They got in their car and drove off, but soon realized another car was following them. Buddy stopped to see who it was, but because of the bright headlights, he couldn't see anything. When he reversed his car, the other car did the same. That's when he realized it was Christine. Furious, Buddy sped away and stopped at a gas station where his friend Richie worked. He got out, picked up an iron rod, and got ready to teach whoever was driving that car a lesson. But before he could do anything, Christine came speeding in and crashed straight into Buddy's car, damaging it badly. Buddy thought Arnie was inside Christine, so he shouted for him to come out. But instead, Christine slammed into his car again, this time pushing it straight into the workshop. Don, one of Buddy's friends, was sitting inside, and Christine crushed him along with the car. Gasoline started leaking from Buddy's car, and within seconds, it caught fire. The whole garage exploded into flames, killing Richie instantly. Buddy tried to run for his life, but Christine wasn't going to let him go that easily. She chased after him, speeding through the burning debris. Finally, Christine caught up and ran him over, burning him alive. A few hours later, the owner of the garage heard the sound of a car arriving. When he came out to look, he saw Christine covered in smoke, slowly rolling in. He was confused because he knew Arnie had gone to repair another car somewhere else. Suspicious, he grabbed his gun and went closer to see who was inside the car. When he tried to open the door, it was burning hot, so he used a cloth to pull it open. But when he looked inside, there was no one there. The driver's seat was empty. Shocked and confused, he couldn't understand how the car had driven there by itself. He sat inside the car to check it out, but that turned out to be the biggest mistake of his life. Suddenly, the car doors locked on their own, trapping him inside. The seat began to move forward, crushing him against the dashboard until he died. The next morning, when Arnie arrived at the garage, he saw several police cars parked outside. He met Detective Junkins there and found out that the dead body of the garage owner was discovered inside Christine. Arnie looked shocked and said he had no idea how any of it happened. But deep inside, Arnie knew that Christine was behind all of this, because once again she was standing there shining like new, as if nothing had ever happened. Meanwhile, Dennis had finally returned home from the hospital when Leigh called him and said she wanted to meet. She came over and told Dennis that Christine had completely taken control of Arnie. She said he was acting strange, like a madman obsessed with the car. Dennis said he was sure Arnie would never do anything bad on his own, but if Christine really had taken over his mind, then the only way to save him was to destroy Christine. After that, Leigh went back home. A short while later, Arnie arrived at Dennis's house in Christine. He asked Dennis to go for a drive with him, and Dennis agreed. But during the drive, Arnie started acting very weird again. Suddenly, he began speeding up and then took his hands off the steering wheel completely. Dennis panicked and shouted, "Christine's out of control! Grab the wheel or we'll both die!" But Arnie smiled strangely and said that no one could ever come between him and Christine. He said he completely trusted her, and to prove it, he drove the car at full speed into the opposite lane. A car coming from the front almost crashed into them, but somehow they narrowly escaped. Seeing his best friend on the edge of insanity, Dennis decided he had to do something. The next day, Dennis wrote a note and placed it on Christine's hood. In the note, he asked Arnie to meet him at the garage that evening. Later that night, Dennis and Leigh waited for him inside the workshop. When Arnie didn't show up, they both climbed into a bulldozer parked nearby and drove it inside the workshop. Their plan was simple. Leigh would wait in the office. As soon as Arnie arrived, she would lock the main gate and Dennis would use the bulldozer to crush Christine once and for all. But what they didn't know was that Christine was already hiding inside the workshop behind a curtain. Suddenly, her headlights flashed on, pointing straight at Leigh, and the car rushed forward to run her over. Leigh barely managed to grab onto a hanging tire chain and lift herself off the ground just in time. Christine didn't stop. She turned and came charging at her again. This time, Dennis drove the bulldozer forward, placing the heavy shovel between Christine and Leigh to block the hit. Christine then backed up, rolling to the other side of the workshop, while Dennis positioned the bulldozer to face her directly. Now, both machines stood face to face. It was then that Dennis realized Christine wasn't moving alone. Arnie was inside, driving her. He was completely under her control now. Christine's headlights glowed brighter, and within seconds, she repaired all her damage as if she were alive. Unfortunately, the bulldozer suddenly stalled and stopped working. Dennis frantically tried to restart it. At that moment, Christine turned and raced straight toward the office to kill Leigh. The car smashed through everything in its path, crashing with full force into the office. The impact was so powerful that Arnie was thrown out through the windshield. Leigh quickly ran toward him to see if he was still alive, but suddenly Arnie jumped up and scared her. He grabbed Leigh and tried to attack her, but unfortunately, a big piece of glass from the windshield had already pierced deep into his body. In his last moments, Arnie tried to reach out and touch his beloved car one last time, but his body couldn't handle the pain anymore, and right there in front of Christine, he took his final breath. Leigh quickly ran away from that place, but Christine wasn't ready to let her go. The car immediately went into reverse and tried to run Leigh over. Luckily, Leigh managed to escape just in time, and Christine crashed into a pillar, getting stuck for a moment. Seeing this as his chance, Dennis quickly moved the excavator forward and slammed it hard into Christine. The car still tried to fight back, moving furiously to escape. Christine charged toward Leigh again, but Dennis hit her from behind with the excavator's heavy shovel, crushing her badly. That hit finally weakened her power. Leigh ran to Dennis and climbed into the excavator with him, but Christine wasn't done yet. She started repairing herself again, piece by piece. Dennis knew this evil force had to be destroyed completely, so he restarted the bulldozer, drove it right on top of Christine, and crushed her over and over until she was totally smashed into pieces. Christine still tried to move, but this time she was completely destroyed. The long and terrifying battle was finally over. The next day, Dennis and Leigh met Detective Junkins at the junkyard. There they saw what was left of Christine, nothing but twisted metal and broken parts. She was finally gone, or so they thought. As they turned to leave, the camera slowly moved closer to the pile of crushed metal. Suddenly, a small piece of Christine's bumper twitched on its own, proving that the evil car was still alive. And with that chilling moment, the story ends. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next one.